The returning king, what does he speak of in those terms? Well, he describes this as a rescue mission. He speaks of himself returning to the world, yes. Does it refer to Christ's return at the end of time? No, it does not. Does he give a time specifically and has revealed that to Anne? No, he has not. And so how do we understand the title? Well, Anne would describe it as being very much consistent with what St. Bernard of Clairvaux described when he talked about the three comings of the Lord. He said, well, the first one, of course, the incarnation, the Christ as the infant in the manger. That's the first coming. The second coming is the glorious return of Christ at the end of time. And that's the second coming. But St. Bernard of Clairvaux described this intermediate coming of the Lord, where he described Christ returning to the hearts of his people. And that's the way we understand the returning king. And he is returning to the hearts of his people one at a time. And the conversion of the world, the rescue mission as he describes it, has already begun, he says. So that's how we understand the title Returning King. Of course, we're in the end times, we have been. But that's how we understand the return of Christ. He first of all wants to return to my heart. He wants to return here if he has been absent from it through my choice, because he's never, of course, absent through his, and to claim one soul at a time. That's what he's doing. That's the return. I would refer particularly our viewers here today to volumes 5 and 8, and indeed volume 7, where the Lord speaks about things to come. The genre of these writings are very much in the apocalyptic genre. So he does speak about the way there is mention of the red moon in there and things that show up in other private revelations. So yes, those are the things those things are there to be read and to be seen. And in fact, volumes 5 and 8 were not initially printed. The Bishop O'Reilly at the time had said, maybe just hold back on volumes 5 and 8. And I think there was great wisdom in that on his part, because they are apocalyptic in their genre and in the way they speak. As such, those genres can be distracting to us from the more important work of the day on any given day of the week, which is my responsibility to cooperate with the Lord's grace today and to be a bit holier by the end of the day than I was at the beginning. And so eventually Bishop O'Reilly said, okay, now it's time after the commission and granting a formal imprimatur. He says, now, okay, volumes 5 and 8, those he said, by all means, print those now. And there was, as I say, wisdom in that, because we never want to be distracted by apocalyptic writings or talk to the extent that our walk is not as fast as it ought to be and is not as cooperative with the Lord's grace as he would desire. So we do not want them to be a distraction. However, they have an exceptionally important role to play in understanding the times in which we live and the gravity and seriousness of the times in which we live. So they have a role, a particular role, but we have to be careful to reiterate again that we don't want them to be a distraction to us. But they are in volumes 5 and 8, and how the Lord speaks and views the world is very, very important. And his perspective on various scenarios that he shows Anne and how he feels about them, they are all there to be seen. So Anne will describe the situation. For example, just randomly picking one, Anne describes in 2004, Jesus brought her to see a young boy, maybe 8 or 9 years of age. The boy's in his room playing a video game on his bed. And Jesus said, the parents are not at home. And if they are at home, they're unavailable to the children. And so the Lord continues to describe this and the scenario where there is so much formation missing in the life of this young boy. And then so that's Anne describing what she sees in this scenario. So those are Anne's words in her writing. But then Jesus said, as it is, Anne, he is being prepared to make money. This is a waste of my great gifts. And his mother should be working quietly around the house, filling this child with the security he needs to be at peace and to consider his role in the universe. Alas, his mother is not at home. Someone who has little interest in him is caring for him, and he knows it. His father now should quietly pass his room, and seeing his son daydreaming, should sit down with him and listen to his son's questions and intellectual stretches. His father is not at home to do this, though, because he is entertaining himself. And my heart is so heavy at this waste of the kingdom's greatest gifts. Your heart becomes heavy with mine, because you love me, and because you grieve for this boy's loneliness. You have asked how you can help this boy. I tell you that you can quickly complete the editing of volume 6. Through it, I will save many families, including this one. And I want my families back. And in parentheses, Anne wrote, this was thundered at me. Please get to work, he said. Volume 6 is, for the listeners, viewers who do not know, is specifically addressed to families, fathers, mothers, and children. But we get some perspective there on what the Lord desires for his families. And that is not meant to be a criticism of any father or mother who is working exceptionally hard, for any mother who has to, by necessity, work outside the home, and yet who is working heroically in the formation and the shaping of her children. But he is talking about priorities, and entertainment for ourselves is not one of them. It is the formation of these greatest gifts. He is talking about the children that he desires most and wishes for us to give some emphasis to. So that's just one entry out of volume 8 and what the Lord is speaking about in these times and what he desires.